Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the first episode of the story, where Naruto Uzumaki has the power of Kyuubi no Kitsune. But what if at age 5 he was given a greater power? Power Naruto, Naru, Hina, harem. Alternate timeline and characters. Rated M for language, violence and straight, les lemons later. To show your support, like and subscribe. Let's get this show going.
For scraps, steal a piece of fruit from a stand and eat it before they caught him, spend most of the day hiding in alleys. And 3 or 4 times a week get attacked and beaten unconscious by an angry mob and hope you wake up. It was sunset when they caught him, and for the 5-year-old blonde boy curled into a tight ball in the dark alley getting stomped bloody by adults who hated him for some reason he couldn't understand or figure out, it was just another day. He screamed, cried and begged for mercy, but as usual all that did was anger them more. He just couldn't figure out why they hated him or called him monster and demon. When the darkness overtook him this time, it was different. He knew he was unconscious, but was still awake and now seemed to be falling. Then suddenly found himself in a very dirty sewer with a couple inches of water. Naruto stood and looked around a minute before he realized he wasn't in pain. Am I dead? Did they kill me this time? Naruto said, then shuddered when an inhumanly deep laugh echoed through the sewer. Come to me, boy, we must speak. A terrifying voice said. The voice terrified him, but despite his fear he followed it down the long tunnel around the corner and down another long tunnel to a huge room. At the far side was the most massive cage door he'd ever seen, even the main gate of the village was tiny compared to it. Where am I and who are you? Little Naruto said nervously but bravely. Just because he ran from the villagers didn't mean he was afraid of them, he just couldn't fight back, he was too small and weak. A pair of huge red eyes appeared in the darkness of the cage. We are inside your mind, boy, and I am Kyuubi no Kitsune, greatest of all the tailed beasts and lord of hell. Kyuubi roared powerfully. And I am the reason they hate you. But I'm also going to help you. Naruto stood there filled with sadness and a quickly building rage he never felt before. He was about to scream at the unseen thing in the cage when it said it was going to help him. That got his attention, as only one person had ever helped him, the old man in the big tower. If everyone hates me cause of you, then why do you want to help me? Naruto said as he tried to look tough. For such a small kid you have big balls to stand up to me like that. And you don't even really know who I am. Kyuubi said, actually impressed. You're too young to understand this now, but basically, if you die, I die, and I refuse to die sealed inside some undersized kit. So I'm going to give you power you never. No, Kyuubi. A female voice interrupted. I will not allow you to alter his fate to fit your evil desires. Kyuubi flinched and looked past Naruto, who spun around when he heard her voice. What are you doing here, you bit? Silence. The woman yelled, which humbled Kyuubi. Do not speak to me that way, beast, even your power is nothing compared to mine. The woman said and walked gracefully to the stunned Naruto. She was 6 feet tall, had white hair past her waist and a silver kimono that showed a beautiful figure and large breasts. She smiled warmly at Naruto, who relaxed and smiled back. Naruto-kun, I wish I didn't have to do this, but Kyuubi is correct. Your fate has somehow been changed and the people attacking you are going to kill you. This wasn't supposed to happen. While I don't agree with his method, someone must intervene, I shall do so. One of your greatest abilities is your luck, but that seems to have been negated. I have many names, but many humans refer to me as Lady Luck, this is what you may call me. For your life to turn out as close to how it should, I must give you a gift no mortal has ever had. The golden kiss. You will not remember this for many years as anything more than a good feeling. You will have good luck beyond any mortal, I can't tell you any more, I'm afraid. I must act now before it is too late. She said in a beautiful motherly voice, then kneeled down and kissed Naruto gently on the forehead before she vanished. Kyuubi watched her and Naruto vanish, then started to laugh, This isn't what he'd planned, but if she did what he thought she just did, this would be even more fun to watch than the slaughter of millions, and for him that was something special. The real world as they kicked Naruto in an effort to kill him and his demon before the ANBU showed up, 3 stories up in a window ledge above the 2-story building across the alley, the woman tripped, bumped the vase and sent it plummeting straight down where it shattered on the head on the mob's leader and knocked him cold. Thinking they'd been spotted by someone, they scattered and left the man face down in the alley with a concussion and blood pouring from a wound on top his head. Just after they scattered, 3 ANBU appeared, the leader a tall thin man with spiky silver hair above his mask. The other was a more muscular man with black hair, and a shorter woman with large but well-proportioned breasts for her build, and long purple hair. Venom, take that garbage to ANBU headquarters and tell Ibiki to have fun with him. I'll take Naruto back to his apartment, have Hokagesuma's personal doctor meet us there, and stand guard until morning. The silver-haired man said from behind his wolf mask. The purple-haired woman smiled sadistically behind her snake mask and threw the unconscious, bloody man over her shoulder. Though only temporary, she loved being an ANBU guard for this kid. It gave her a chance to hurt people legally. She didn't really like the little blonde kid, but she'd seen how shitty his life was the last month she'd been assigned to guard him, but did have some respect for him because no matter what he never gave up. She could relate to that. Her life until recently had been just as shitty. I can understand hating what's inside the kid, but even I'm not sadistic enough to kill a little kid for something he has no control over, and those fuckers at the hospital. Venom said, her anger and voice raising with every word. Calm down, Venom. I know how you feel, but even we can't just kill people without good reason and you know it. We have a job to do. Dismissed. Wolf said. Venom nodded and vanished. You know what will happen if she ever catches anyone attacking the kid. I doubt even we'll be able to stop her from killing them. The big man in the bear mask said seriously. The thin man in the wolf mask sighed, nodded, scooped up Naruto and vanished with bear. Naruto's mindscape, so the snake bitch has a soft spot for the kid. I can use that. If Cammy and her other celestial bitches are watching over the kid, they'll seal me away in the back of his mind if I try to influence him the wrong way, and I won't even be able to talk to him. They want him to be a hero, fine. But it'll be my way. Kyuubi said and smiled broadly. Naruto, age 6, 6:57 a.m., the Academy. Naruto walked down the hall of the Academy towards his first class. He didn't show it, but he was really nervous, despite what the old man and his new friends at the ramen stand said. Being around all these people, and especially the ninja teachers, made him nervous. He saw the all too familiar hate in every adult's eyes he'd met so far. Unlike with villagers, if they decided to kill him, there was nothing he could do. Even running wouldn't help him against them. He paused at the doorway and looked in at all the other kids. Most of them he'd seen around the village and recognized, especially the kids from the big clans. There's the fat kid with the chips, the lazy kid. The bug kid seems okay, but creepy. There's Dog Boy. They're Mr. Important, Pinky NND Big Mouth. I don't why they like him, just because he's from a big clan and he's rich he thinks he's special. Big jerk. Naruto thought. Then his scowl fell away when he saw an girl with blue hair and white eyes looking at him. He didn't think anyone in there had seen him. She suddenly turned red and looked down at her desk. She's weird. I wonder who she is. I think she's one of those people, but why haven't I ever seen her before? Oh well, I better get in there and get a seat. I promised Grandpa I'd try to behave. Naruto thought, then walked in, crossed the room and got a seat right in the middle of everyone he recognized. This was lucky. Maybe I'll get to play cards with some of them later. Good thing I brought the deck Grandpa bought me. Naruto thought and smiled. He'd found out a couple months ago he was really lucky with cards, dice, any game he played or little bet he made, usually for ramen, he always won. Even against the old guy he called Grandpa. A minute or so later the bell rang and a guy with a big scar across his nose came in and smiled. I'm your teacher, you can call Iruka-sensei. Before we start, let's see who's here. Iruka said, went to his desk, picked up the clipboard of names and a pencil. Chuji Akimichi. Munch Munch, here. Shino Aburami. Iruka said, then smirked subtly when Shino just raised a hand enough to see. Just like his dad. Iruka thought. Naruto listened and watched as names were called. He wanted to see who Evrine was. Eventually everyone he recognized was named but one. Here. Naruto yelled and waved his arms so everyone saw him. Most laughed. He could tell some thought he was an idiot, but he didn't care about that, or even that many of them looked at him like the adults did, but not with as much hate as they did. He looked at the last person and smiled at her. Ino Yamanaka. Iruka said. Here next to Sasuke-kun. Ino said sweetly. Naruto felt the strong, for their age anyway, killer intent that filled the classroom when Ino said that. He looked around at all the angry girls and almost felt sorry for Ino. Almost, but not quite, then froze when he saw her. The girl he now knew as Hinata Hyuga wasn't staring all bijit at Sasuke, but at him. That is, until he saw her staring at him, turned bright red and face planted on her desk with a thud. He had to giggle at that. She was funny. Weird, but funny. He made a mental note to talk to her later. Maybe she wanted to be friends and was just too shy. Grandpa had given him a few talks about people, so he had a tiny idea of why she acted like that. In Naruto's mind, unheard by him, Kyuubi was laughing his furry butt off. He knew exactly why the girl looked at him like that. He could have introduced himself to Naruto and told him. But where was the fun in that? That Sasuke kid. Kyuubi had plans for him. If there was one thing he enjoyed, it was knocking the arrogant off their throne and leaving them humiliated. He was glad he influenced Naruto enough to get him to practice throwing things, mostly rocks, but with his luck the kid never missed his target. He couldn't wait for the weapons. 12:42 p.m., 5th period weapon class, outdoor target range. Naruto had watched everyone take their turn and throw the kunai. Most were decent enough, but as he figured Sasuke was currently ranked top in the class with a near-perfect score of 95, which made all the girls but Hinata fawn all over him, and he'd ignore them as usual. He could at least be nice to them. Jerk. Naruto thought, then smiled a little bigger than he already was when his turn came. He stepped up to the table to pick up 5 of the 10 kunai he had to throw. At least try to hit the target, dope. If you can see over the table, that is. Sasuke said and laughed cruelly. Naruto felt a familiar rush of energy through his body that always started in his stomach, which he figured was where everyone's chakra started when they used it. He was about to pick one up when an idea appeared in his mind. Iruka-sensei, do we have to throw at the first targets? They're only 30 feet away. Naruto said and looked depressed, like he was doing something too easy. Can I throw at the second targets? Everyone got quiet and looked at the little blonde like he was crazy. Naruto, the other targets are 60 feet away and are for the advanced students. You can't reach them yet. Iruka said calmly. Yeah, dope, I've been training since I was 2 and I can't hit those yet, so there's no way a runt like you could do it. Sasuke said and laughed with most of the other students. Naruto quietly smacked his lips together as he always did, and smiled big as he set his hook. Sure I can. Do it all the time. Iruka raised his eyebrows slightly at this. He'd heard students boast before, but this time was different somehow. He actually believed Naruto could do it. Naruto, can you really hit those targets from here? Iruka asked, calm but very curious. No one had ever hit those targets on their first day, not even Itachi Uchiha. Of course I can, Iruka-sensei. Naruto said confidently. No chance, dope, you have a better chance of getting these girls to kiss you than hitting those targets. Sasuke said. Yeah. All but one girl yelled confidently. Oh yeah, then how about we bet on it? Naruto said seriously. All the girls suddenly got quiet. they didn't like that look on the little blonde boy's face, it made them all nervous for some reason. "What's the bet, Dobe?" Sasuke said as he got serious. Irika got the same odd feeling the girls had in his stomach, but he'd seen that look before in casinos. It was the look of someone that knew they were going to win no matter what. "Before I allow this, what are the terms of the bet?" "He has to hit all 10 targets for at least 1 point." Sasuke said. "If he doesn't?" Irika asked. Sasuke thought a moment then smiled cruelly. "For the next month he has to call me Sasuke-sama and do anything I tell him at the academy." "What do you say, Naruto?" Irika said. "Deal. If I win you have to do that for me. And if I get a bullseye on all 10 every girl here has to kiss me." Naruto exclaimed. He wasn't interested in girls that way yet, he just knew they didn't want to and that was a good enough to make them do it. Every girl there went pale, several fainted. Including Hinata. Irika's eyebrows shot up at that. "Girls, you don't have to. We accept, my Sasuke-kun won't lose," Ino said when her confidence came back. Sasuke looked around and saw a small nod from all of them still conscious. They all annoyed him but they helped his image as the Suntobe top student. "Deal," Sasuke said and walked over to Naruto. Irika stopped Sasuke and waited a moment while he had a few girls wake up the few that fainted. "Does everyone agree to the terms of the bet? As shinobi your word is everything, it will define how other shinobi treat you, and among your teammates if they can't trust you, then you won't live long. Everyone understand that?" Irika said seriously, then saw everyone nod. Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Yukika, shake hands and make this a binding agreement. He watched them shake then step back. Naruto looked at the big outdoor clock. "Since class will be over soon I'll do this fast." Naruto said with a big smile, scooped up 5 kunai in each hand by the handles, crossed his arms over his chest and with a grunt threw all 10 at once, his arms snapped out to his sides. Everyone went slack-jawed and bug-eyed and all 10 kunai hit their targets dead center. "So who's first?" Naruto asked as he licked his lips. Hokage Tower, 3:16 p.m. Sarutobi's pipe fell from his mouth to the desk when his jaw dropped from shock. "He did what?" Sarutobi yelled with Kage-level power. Irika flinched. "It's true Hokage-sama, Naruto Uzumaki hit all 10 targets dead center at the same time. On his first throw. I've never seen anything like it, even from experienced ANBU, but..." Irika said and hesitated. Sarutobi caught that and composed himself. "But what Irika? It wasn't skill, he didn't even aim, he just threw them. And I think I felt some of its chakra when he did, but I'm pretty sure all it did was enhance his strength so he could hit them, the rest was all Naruto. I watched him the rest of the day when I had him and notified his other teachers. They all said the same thing, he has the most unbelievable luck we've ever seen. There's one more thing Hokage-sama. It's Mizuki, he wants a transfer to another department, he'll take anything as long as it's away from Naruto." Sarutobi's right eyebrow raised slightly. "Why, what happened in his taijutsu class? You know how proud he is." Well, by the time his class started word had spread all over the academy. Mizuki got into an argument with Naruto and they ended making a bet that Naruto couldn't hit him and no matter how good Naruto was at throwing things that wouldn't save him in a fight. Irika said and swallowed nervously. "Naruto has the worst, sloppiest taijutsu style I've ever seen in my life, it's like he taught himself. They went at it a minute, I will say this for Naruto, he has incredible reflexes, it's like he knew the attacks were coming, he got him." "Mizuki hit him?" Sarutobi said, slightly concerned. Irika shook his head. "I don't know how, but Naruto landed a kick and knocked him out cold." Sarutobi was stunned. "Impossible. Wait, where did Naruto kick him that could knock Mizuki out?" Irika winced. "Naruto kicked him. In the balls, he's at the hospital now." I don't know if he was seriously injured, but based on my experience, to knock out someone like Mizuki with a single kick requires incredible chakra to generate the force needed. It reminded me of stories you used to tell me about. Tsunade. Sarutobi interrupted. Thank you. Dismissed. Sarutobi said, waited for Irika to leave, put a sound seal on the room and burst out laughing. He was one of the few people aware of how Mizuki really felt about Naruto. He saw him as Kyuubi reborn, not as a person that contained the demon lord. Day 2, 7 a.m., the academy. Naruto sat at his desk with a big smile on his face. When he got there that morning, everyone looked at him, many kids even respectfully stepped aside, even older kids. The look everyone gave him wasn't the same hate he was used to. He wasn't sure what it was, but he liked it. He was the center of attention, but for a different reason this time. Kissing all the girls yesterday had been fun, most didn't like it, some didn't seem to care, and few seemed to like it afterwards. One girl stood out though, Hinata Hyuga. She was last in line to kiss him, she'd fainted 4 times trying to kiss him, and finally did with Iruka Sensei holding her up. Then fainted again. He thought it was really funny, but for some reason couldn't bring himself to laugh at her. It was like someone was holding him back. When Iruka Sensei came in, he saw him immediately look right at him and smile. Irika picked up his clipboard and stood in front of his desk. Everyone, we have a new student. She should have started last year but was unable to for personal reasons. Please come in. Irika said as he turned to the door and waited a moment for her to enter. Everyone, please say hello to Tenten. Naruto watched her enter, and when she did his eyes bugged out. Naruto was the smallest kid in his grade, but the new girl, Tenten, was even shorter than he was, and she was a year older. She had black hair in little buns on the sides of her head, a dark blue shirt, black pants and sandals. She looked around, then when she saw him she seemed to get angry at him. He had no idea why though, he'd just met her. Tenten, please take a seat. Irika said. Tenten gave Irika a polite bow and headed for the only empty seat, but all the way there she glared at the little blonde boy with the 3 marks on each cheek. Lunch, Academy Cafeteria, here's your ramen from Ichiraku's. Naruto-sama. Sasuke said politely as he sat the 1-quart white box in front of Naruto, but it was obvious he was really mad. May I eat lunch now, Naruto-sama? Sasuke said politely through clenched teeth. Naruto laughed. Thanks Sasuke team. Dismissed. Naruto said casually and ved his hand. He'd seen the old man do that a lot and practiced imitating him until he did it perfectly. Sasuke gave Naruto a forced polite bow and walked away. He gritted his teeth angrily as he heard Naruto laughing behind him. He wanted to use his fireball jutsu on Naruto, but he didn't, not because of the academy, but because of his parents. His father could only kill him for breaking his word as a shinobi and an Uchiha. His mother would do far worse. He'd get the look from her, that glare of total disappointment. He simply couldn't withstand it, and once even saw his father humbled by an almost identical glare. He figured it had to be some special jutsu they teach women at the academy, because only women and kunoichi ever used it. Naruto had just dug into his ramen when 2 chopsticks pierced the box. Everyone froze and turned to look. Naruto had a mouthful of noodles, half which hung out of his mouth. 50 feet away, on the other side of the cafeteria, stood a very angry little brunette, her right arm still extended from her throat. Naruto slurped down his ramen and swallowed them with an audible gulp as he watched her storm across the room to him. That lunch period was used by all the grades, and as Tenten crossed, even the final year students twice her size stepped out of her way. No one noticed the on-duty kunoichi Shushin away, or returned just before Tenten reached Naruto. She had a guest that stood behind her hidden from the students. He rubbed his scarred nose. Hello. Tenten. Is something wrong? Naruto said nervously and gave her a big friendly smile. You think you're better than me with kunai? Tenten asked angrily. Naruto thought a moment, shrugged, and said what he hoped as the right thing. Maybe. I've never seen you use them. You will today, weapon class, the target range, I challenge you to a contest to decide once and for all who has the best aim. Tenten said loudly, grabbed Naruto's chopsticks from him, twirled them at high speed in her right hand, and without even looking through them, both pierced the center of a chunk of barbecue pork Chuji had in his chopsticks ready to bite. He was 35 feet away. Tenten turned and stormed out of the cafeteria. I'm going to have to assign him a bodyguard if this keeps up. Irika said as he gently shook his head, then vanished. And I thought doing him this favor was going to be boring. Anko whispered to herself behind her henge and smiled. Weapon class, outdoor target range. As he listened to Iruka Sensei ask Tenten if she was sure she wanted to bet on this, he thought about what had happened. He'd heard a very quiet voice in his head lately that had given him these ideas for the bets, and other things, but he thought it was normal. Besides, everything had gone his way and now he'd just found out that Tenten's dad owned the best weapon shop in Konoha. His little voice had suggested that be the bet, and Tenten had agreed right away. I'm ready Iruka Sensei, so who goes first? Since standard targets won't settle this, you see I have 10 small targets set up around the field, you'll both get 10 kunai. You'll get 1 minute to run the course I laid out, since you made the challenge Tenten that I'll let Naruto decide who goes first. Irika said then looked at Naruto. Okay. Tenten can go first. Naruto said. Irika subtly raised his eyebrows when Naruto said okay, as if someone had said something to him. He had a feeling he knew who it was. As long as he didn't see any red chakra he'd let anything Naruto said or did slide. As long as no one was in danger and it wasn't trying to escape. Ready Tenten. Irika took out a stopwatch. Go. He said as he clicked it. He watched her dash through the course at impressive speed for her size and age, and she threw her kunai with a very practiced hand, which didn't surprise him considering who her parents were. He clicked it as she crossed the line. 42.34 seconds, very impressive Tenten. Irika said, then walked the course, removed her kunai and recorded her score. Looks like you scored a 9.9 Tenten, your last hit was a millimeter to the left. The wind blew the target, I was dead center, that's not fair. Tenten yelled. Irika could hear it in her voice, she scored better than most high-level chunin, and she was actually disgusted with her performance. She's a perfectionist. Her file was right, her whole identity is wrapped up in her near-perfect natural aim with thrown weapons. If Naruto beats her I hope it doesn't break her spirit, she'll make an excellent kunoichi and weapon mistress someday. Irika thought. Sorry Tenten, your turn Naruto. Irika said, and as Naruto picked up the 10 kunai he felt that same subtle chakra surge he felt yesterday. If Naruto is the kind of person I think he is, if he does hurt her feelings he'll make it up to her some way. I hope. Irika thought. Naruto got his kunai ready. Go. Irika said as he clicked the stopwatch, he watched carefully as Naruto ran the course at full speed, he didn't even look at the targets, he just threw his kunai as he passed them, and like before he didn't aim but hit the target on pure luck, it was like a bloodline limit almost, he couldn't believe it even as he watched it happen. He checked his watch and knew he had her time beat easily. When Naruto crossed the line he stopped it. 30 seconds even. I'll be right back. Irika said and ran off to check his aim and collect the kunai. When he got to the last target he knew it was over before he even got close. Like the first 9, this one was dead enter, in fact the FRST 9 were in the same hole made by Tenten's kunai. He composed himself and returned to the anxious kids, 2 in particular. Naruto's score was perfect. He said almost nervously. The instant he started to say perfect he saw Tenten's face, behind her eyes her self-worth was falling like a lightning bolt from the sky. I lost. Tenten whimpered pathetically as her eyes teared up. Irika watched intently, He saw her emotional mask was about to shatter, but before he could act it happened. Tenten froze up, her whole body stiff. "Don't cry, Tenten, you're way better than me, I just got lucky," Naruto said as he hugged her. "You like ramen? After academy I'll take you out to eat all you want and I'll call us even, what do you say?" "Sasuke team is buying," Naruto said happily, then, for a reason even he didn't understand, he kissed her cheek. Near the front, Hinata silently whimpered when she saw him kiss her. But it had been on her cheek, not on the lips. She still had hope. Sasuke clenched his fists and jaw, but didn't react otherwise. Tenten was stunned, she just stood there a moment and stared at him. "I love ramen." Thank you, Naruto-kun," Tenten said almost timidly. When he'd kissed her all her pain had faded away almost instantly and been replaced by something else that made her all happy. She whipped around facing the crowd. "From now on anyone tries to pick on Naruto-kun has to go through me first," Tenten exclaimed. "Well, I'll be damned. How the hell did he do that?" Irika thought, highly amused, but kept it hidden. "Naruto-kun, after we eat I'll take you to our family shop to get your new weapons. I hope Dad lets me anyway," Tenten said as she realized she'd bet him free weapons from her dad's shop without permission. "Sure, Tenten-chan," Naruto said happily, then turned to the crowd when he heard an almost squeaky voice. He looked around and saw her face was all red. "Does you say something, Hinata-kun?" Naruto said casually, not really realizing he'd called her Chan accidentally. Hinata's head snapped up and her face turned bright red. "He called me Hinata-kun," Hinata said to herself, then nodded her answer to him purely on instinct. See, can I join you for our ramen?" Hinata stuttered out badly, she'd never been so nervous in her entire life. Naruto smiled happily, he'd just made 2 friends in one day. "Of course you can, Hinata-kun," Naruto exclaimed. Irika glanced at Hinata and saw it in her eyes. She loves him, she's just too shy to tell him. If Naruto hugs Hinata her blood pressure might kill her, Irika thought. "Everyone back inside, except you, Naruto. You're going to help me clean up," Irika said. Naruto whined and pouted a moment, then nodded. "Hi, Iruka-sensei. Can I stay and help Naruto-kun clean up?" Tenten said hopefully. "I think we can handle it, Tenten, but you can take the kunai back in and put them away for me, I know I can trust you with school property. With the extras there's too many for one person, Hinata, would you assist Tenten please?" Irika said. Hinata calmed down and bowed slightly. "Hi, Iruka-sensei." Hinata smiled at Tenten, then quickly helped Tenten load the kunai into the box with the others and carry it inside. That should get them talking, if she'd just open up Hinata could be a top student. She lacks confidence. Tenten doesn't, and both need friends. Now I just need to have a little talk with Naruto. Irika thought. 2:20 p.m., Ichiraku ramen, so that's 6 beef ramen for you Naruto-kun, a pork ramen for you Tenten-chan. And a miso ramen for you Hinata-kun. The 16-year-old girl said and gave Naruto a sly smirk, then turned and headed for the stove. "So why haven't you brought your girlfriends in sooner Naruto-kun?" I.M. said playfully, then heard a thud and turned suddenly back to them and gasped. Naruto was looking at the floor surprised, Tenten was bright red and she couldn't see Hinata. She ran back to the counter and looked down over it. Hinata was on the floor out cold, her face neon red. "Oh Kami, I'm sorry," I.M. said and ran around to help Hinata as her father came out of the back. Naruto age 8, 2:38 p.m., Ichiraku ramen Sakura Haruno sat on the stool next to her friend trying to become invisible. To Sakura's left sat an angry Ino Yamanaka. "I still can't believe you did this to me forehead. How could you make that bet with Naruto? You ruined my reputation." Look at us. Ino almost yelled, jumped off her stool and did a spin. Thanks to you we have to wear these ugly orange jumpsuits for a week. Sasuke-kun will never look at me again. And you? Ino said, shook her head and got back on her stool. Ino. I really didn't think he knew the answer. Sakura said meekly, she hoped she hadn't lost her best friend. Hinata sat quietly at her normal stool on Naruto's right, and ate her miso ramen, but inside she was laughing her head off. She didn't see what the problem was though, she thought orange was a good color, especially on her best boyfriend and crush Naruto. She glanced over at Tenten who was giggling almost out of control. The now 9-year-old Tenten didn't see what the big deal was, she thought they looked good in orange jumpsuits, Naruto did. She was barely able to eat her pork ramen, she was giggling so hard. 11:56 p.m., that night, Naruto's apartment. Naruto threw off his ragged, worn blanket and got out of bed in his orange pajamas and scratched his head. Stupid cat. Up screeching all night. Naruto said annoyed, reached between the headboard of his bed and the wall into a hole and pulled out an old, slightly rusty but recently sharpened kunai. He had new ones from Tenten, but this was his first one and his favorite. This time I'm gonna kill that stupid cat. Naruto said with a big, slightly dark, foxy grin. Had he looked at the side of the kunai he'd have seen his eyes turn red for just a moment as he said it. Naruto went to his window, deactivated the alarm he'd recently made for it to keep people from breaking in to trash everything yet again, checked to be sure the coast was clear, then climbed out, kunai in hand. He'd chased it dozens of times during the last 6 months and memorized its patterns and hiding places. He snuck silently through the alley and down the side streets, from its singing, he knew where it was and had a plan. He'd use what he'd learned at the academy and sneak up it from behind. He'd tried the direct attack a dozen times after it had first appeared, but as fast as he was, that stupid gray cat was faster. Okay Tora, this time I got ya and you won't. Naruto thought as he crossed the rooftop to the edge for heat death from above attack, then stopped when he saw something unusual. He was used to seeing the occasional ANBU blurring across the rooftops, or a shinobi out on the street patrolling. But this person sneaking through the shadows had a big bag over his shoulder, and it had an odd shape to it, then he saw it move. He's kidnapping someone. Naruto thought, then for some reason the direction the man came from hurt him, so he turned and looked. It only took him a moment to realize who lived in that direction that was worth kidnapping. He has Hinata-kun. Naruto whispered, unaware his voice had changed or his eyes had turned blood red and now had vertical slit pupils. Over 200 yards away the lining mean stopped mid-step when he felt it, a sudden spike of shaka filled with more raw hatred that even he could imagine. He turned and scanned the area nervously. No human has chakra that strong or has that much hatred. It has to be a Jinchuriki. Damn it, why didn't they tell me Konoha had a Jinchuriki? I better get the fuck out of. He thought, then dropped the sack and screamed in a very high-pitched voice. It had come in faster than even he could react as a jounin. And buried itself in his crotch. He fell to the ground wailing, unable to focus enough to use his chakra. In the 20 years he'd been a ninja, he'd been injured many times, but never had he been struck there by a weapon. The next thing he knew Smione grabbed his collar and lifted him up to his knees. Where he looked into the slitted, blood-red eyes of a little blonde boy who had his fist raised to strike, red chakra was gathering around his fist almost like armor as it slowly covered his body. He caught a glimpse behind the obviously enraged Jinchuriki and saw a foxtail forming out of red chakra. He instantly knew which demon was imprisoned in the blonde boy. Kyuubi no Kitsune. He said, now terrified. He could handle most shinobi, even jounin, but Kyuubi was so far beyond him he knew anything he tried would be useless. I'm glad I haven't been forgotten. Kyuubi said through Naruto, who he'd surpassed to keep these memories from him for now. Now mortal scum, you will burn in the fires of hell. Kyuubi said as his raised fist burst into red flames. Release him, Kyuubi-sama. Let us handle this. A voice said from behind Kyuubi, calmly, but slyly nervous. Still in control, Kyuubi threw the lining mean face down on the street, hard enough to knock him out, and turned around, still in his one-tailed chakra cloak. He saw 6 ANBU, the 3 now unmasked ANBU from 3 years ago in the alley, and the Hyuga twins, Hayashi and Hizashi, who kept looking past him to the still unconscious Hinata, whose head and right arm now hung out of the sack, their Byakugan active. Kyuubi was very angry, but still in control. He didn't want to, but he had to give Naruto control back. He didn't want another visit from her. Or worse. Naruto is unaware of my presence within him. For now you will keep it that way. Tell him of me before he's ready and I'll skin you all alive. Kyuubi said menacingly. He didn't want them to know he was bluffing. He then pulled back all his chakra, and Naruto returned to normal. The moment he did, Naruto fell forward, unconscious. Kakashi crossed the 10 feet in an instant and caught him. Hayashi, Hizashi, take Hinata home. Enko, Asuma, take him to Ibiki. You 6 take Naruto home and stand guard out of sight. I'll report this to Hokage-sama. If anyone asks, this is an S-rank secret for now. Dismissed. Kakashi said, handed Naruto to the ANBU, then he vanished in a swirl of wind and leaves. Hayashi picked up Hinata, and now except for his brother they were the only ones still there. That was the diplomat from Cloud. Hayashi said. Hizashi sighed and nodded. Hi. I also noticed that wasn't the same Kyuubi that attacked us 6 years ago. He was protecting Hinata. Hayashi nodded. That's twice I owe him now, Hizashi. First I allow him to visit Hinata and he trips a branch member bringing Hana poison tea that would have killed her, and now he saved my daughter thanks to the demon. I must admit I was wrong about them, especially Naruto, and have dishonored my friend's memory. I will make this up to his son no matter the personal cost. Hayashi said quietly to his twin, then ran off towards the Hyuga compound. 1,000 thoughts ran through his mind all at once at what just happened and what he was going to tell Hinata tomorrow. And what he was going to tell Hana when he got back. Hizashi was close behind him. Naruto age 8, 4:31 p.m., Hyuga compound. Since he'd helped save Hinata 2 months ago, he still had no idea how though, and any adult he asked would say, I'll tell you when you're older. He didn't like it, but as long as Hinata was okay he didn't care. As he sat and watched Hinata spar with Niji in the outdoor training ground he had to smile. Hinata was the top kunoichi at the academy. She hadn't stuttered in almost 3 weeks. He'd made friends with Sasuke, though they were also rivals now. He loved finally having someone to train with now. He had dozens of friends now, at least at the academy, and the adult ninjas and kunoichi would give him a friendly smile, nod or wave when he saw them around the village. Most of the villagers still glared hatefully at him for some reason he still couldn't figure out, but some had changed their minds. Better than everything else though, was that Hinata's dad and uncle had bought him a small house near the Hyuga compound. It wasn't much bigger than his apartment, but it was clean and it as all his, no rent to pay. He didn't get money from the old man anymore, but they'd solved that too. He had a bank account now that if he was careful like they showed him, would last him until he graduated and could earn his own money. They said it was the least they could do for him for saving Hinata. All he knew was that if it wasn't for him that man would have escaped with Hinata and they never would have seen her again. Come on Naruto, you must be washed and dressed if you wish to join us for dinner. Hayashi said as he walked up to Naruto. Naruto turned to him and smiled. Hi, Hayashi-sama. Naruto said, hopped off the bench, bowed and dashed off to the men's baths in the main house. Hayashi smiled as he smelled lilacs from behind him and turned around. Hello Hana-chan, how's Lil Hanabikan? Hana smiled warmly at her husband as she held her sleeping 3-year-old daughter on her shoulder. She fell asleep watching Hinata spar with Niji. She said she was really proud her Nei-chan was so strong now. Before she went out, she was tired from her training. I guess she wants to be just like Hinata when she grows up. Hina said with a warm smile, then activated her Byakugan a moment to be sure Naruto or any other kids weren't around to hear her. Her face got serious, which for her was rare inside the compound. Has he shown up since Hinataken's kidnapping attempt? Hayashi's face changed to the familiar emotionless appearance. I've watched him here and had him watched by our Jounin, even when he gets hit sparring with the Uchiha, there's been nothing. I've discussed this with Naruto Baisama and the other clan heads. We all agree, for whatever reason we're unaware of, it has changed. Even when he threatened us that night, he was full of rage, but there was no hatred or evil intent when he said it. Hina smiled and relaxed. And what about this uncanny luck he has? I've never seen anything like it. I've watched him, it isn't just throwing things, it happens in any game he plays, or anything he wants to do, he seems to almost. There's no other way to say it, he seems to change fate to whatever outcome is best for him, but I don't think he's aware that he's doing it, he just thinks he's really lucky. Hayashi nodded, then smirked. Have you heard about his dream? No, I haven't spent as much time with him as I'd like because of Hanabiken, but she'll be playing with other kids soon. Hina said. He wants to be the next Hokage. Hayashi said, then he saw a twinkle in his wife's eyes he hadn't seen in a long time and sighed. Come on Hayashikin, you know Hinata loves him, and we both know with his luck he will be Hokage someday, they'd be a perfect couple, not to mention what having our son-in-law as Hokage would do for the clan. Hina said happily and gave him her best pleading expression, leaned forward slightly so her kimono top fell open enough to let him see of her very large breasts. It was a dirty trick to use this outside the bedroom, where she'd have to pay him back tonight, but it was worth it. Hayashi held his ground until he saw down her kimono. He just couldn't resist those big pale breasts. You win Hina, I'll draw up the paperwork later and take it to Naruto Baisama tomorrow. Hayashi said and thought a moment. They'd be honored to know you want their son to marry Hinata. I miss them too. Hina smiled, kissed Hayashi, then called over her personal servant, an older cadet branch woman, and handed Hanabi to her. Please put Hanabi to bed, she won't be joining us for dinner. Be sure Naruto-kun is ready and in the dining room by 5 sharp this time. Hina said with a subtle smirk, then nodded to the woman. The woman took Hanabi, smiled subtly, then nodded and left. Naruto age 9, after sunset Naruto loved night, he could go out and explore Konoha without having to deal with any people. Except the odd shinobi he'd meet on patrol or ANBU, though they never stopped to even say hello. With one exception. It had started 10 months ago by accident, but had become a regular event, once a week he'd go there just after sunset. He landed on the roof, listened carefully and waited for the very subtle sound. He suddenly spun around, caught the kunai that had been thrown at him. And smiled happily. All the special training he'd gotten in the last year, especially from his new surrogate dad and uncle, had increased his power by leaps and bounds, though he had most of what he could do now at the academy. The ANBU stepped out of the shadows and lifted her mask. Damn it brat, how the hell do you do that? You aren't even a genin yet, but not only can you detect me when no one else can, but you can catch my kunai bare-handed. She said, annoyed but very impressed. He'd mastered everything she'd taught him in the last 10 months in a matter of days. She knew how lucky he was, but in 4 years, the last in particular, he'd gotten as strong as she was, maybe more. It has to be the fox's doing, there's no other explanation for why he's so damn strong. That's a secret, Enkakan. You know we don't tell our secrets. You lost again, I'm waiting. Naruto said and gave her a big, almost perverted grin. Enko pouted very Naruto-like. Oh come on brat. How the hell you ever got me to make that damn bed is beyond me, but Enko Mitarahi always pays her debts. You sure you're a 9-year-old kid and not Kakashi using a disguise? That pervert would do anything to see what you're about to. Again. Enko said, slightly embarrassed, but amused. Naruto smiled and shook his head. You're the only ANBU I talk to, Enkakan. I swear, if you ever tell anyone I submit to you like this, I'll feed you to my snakes. Anko said seriously, then sighed. I don't believe I'm about to show this lucky little shit my tits again. How the fuck a 9-year-old brat got the toughest, scariest bitch in Konoha by the short hairs I doubt I'll ever know, but I'm gonna try. At least he's not older. If he was, I'd probably be on my knees sucking his dick. Or more. Who am I kidding? When he's older he'll probably make me his fuck toy anyway. At least he's cute, he'll be a real stud when he's older. Well, better he see my tits than sneak around peeping on women like that old pervert does. Anko thought, then grabbed the bottom of her shirt. She'd stopped wearing a bra months ago when she'd accepted the fact she was never going to win, it just got in the way. She'd just gotten it up to the bottom of her semi-firm breasts when she saw him raise his hand for her to stop. When she saw his big grin turn serious, she knew something was wrong. He was never wrong. What is it, Naruto? Anko said, a little anxious. I heard a scream, like someone was stabbed or something. Naruto said seriously as he turned his head side to find the direction. I didn't hear anything, but I trust your senses. You've never been wrong before. Anko said as she reached for her ANBU communicator. Before I call in an ANBU strike, show me where it came from. I'm in charge, but you have the better senses. Let's move, Naruto. Anko said, put her mask back on and leapt off the roof after Naruto. As she followed him around, she quickly realized where they always ended up near. It's Sasuke's family. Naruto said shakily. I can hear him inside. Someone is killing everyone in there. He's a jerk, but he's still my friend and nobody is gonna hurt my friends. Naruto said fiercely, then jumped up onto and over the wall around the Uchiha compound. Damn it, Naruto, wait for. Fucking hothead. Anko switched on her communicator. This is Venom, code red 2, Uchiha compound. Anko said quickly but clearly and followed Naruto over the wall to help. 2 minutes later, Uchiha compound. Naruto ran through the halls toward the main bedrooms where Sasuke and his parents were. If he hadn't been here a few times already, he'd have gotten lost trying to find everyone. He'd already found the Uchiha elders and many of their jounin that made up the Konoha police force. All of them dead. It made him sick to see it. They weren't just killed, they were slaughtered like animals. Many had been decapitated or split open. He heard screaming and recognized it as Mikoto, Sasuke's mother. Mikoto kneeled on the floor as she hugged the unconscious Sasuke protectively. Tears poured from her Sharingan eyes. She was a jounin, but knew fighting was useless. Her husband was far stronger than her, and the man before her had decapitated him easily and now stood over her, his bloody sword raised. Why a Tachikan? Mikoto said softly, with extreme sadness and confusion, then closed her eyes and waited for the death blow. Then there was a crash and the sound of wood shattering, and a wave of chakra hit her so filled with rage and power it knocked her out. 1 minute later, Anko jumped through the hole in the wall she knew had to be from Naruto, a kunai in each hand, just in time to see a face she hoped she'd never have to again. And was instantly filled with near blinding rage. Orochimaru. Anko screamed with every ounce of rage she'd held in for years. Orochimaru smiled very snake-like at Anko as he pulled a kunai from his shoulder. Another time, Anko-kan, I'll see you again, boy, you are most interesting. Orochimaru said, then melted into the ground before Anko's kunai struck the ground moments before her fists. Fucking snake bastard, I'll kill you. Anko roared in rage as she'd lunged at him after she threw her kunai. That was the moment 20 ANBU, led by Kakashi and Asuma, appeared in the room. They saw 6 people, an enraged Anko on her knees punching the floor, 4 Uchiha, an unconscious Mikoto and her son Sasuke, the headless corpse of their husband/father, and an unconscious Itachi, who appeared to be badly beaten. And to their shock and fear, Naruto, in a 2-tailed red chakra cloak. Kakashi took a step forward as he pulled up his Hiteite to reveal his Sharingan eye. Did you do this? I did not kill the Uchiha, Anko-kan will explain. Kyuubi said, withdrew all his chakra and the unconscious Naruto fell forward. Kakashi caught Naruto and turned to the now calmer Anko, shocked. Anka-kan? Kakashi blankly repeated what Kyuubi had just called her. Anko stood, composed herself as best she could and nodded. I'll explain everything later. It was Orochimaru and Itachi, but I don't know if he was a partner or puppet, and right now I don't fucking care. I'll talk to the old man tomorrow, right now I'm Jinghome Kakashi. Anyone tries to stop me and I swear I'll fucking castrate him. Anko said with calm sadness and anger, then casually walked out and headed home. Kakashi had seen Anko like this only once before and knew not to mess with her until she calmed down and sorted her feeling out. Let her go, call in backup and get any survivors to the hospital, take Itachi to the maximum security wing for treatment, I'll take Naruto home and stay with him. You give Anko a few minutes then tell her to go to Naruto's on Hokage-sama's orders. You tell Hokage-sama to meet us at Naruto's place right away. Dismissed. Everyone did as told, Kakashi vanished with Naruto in a swirl of wind and leaves. 58 minutes later, Naruto's house, is that everything Kakashi, Anko? Sarutobi said calmly. Kakashi nodded. Hi. Anko said. Sarutobi turned to the being on the bed. Naruto must be told, if my former student is after your power, Naruto must be told about you and properly trained. If you weren't able to defeat him with 2 tails you must be stronger. Sarutobi said and sighed. Orochimaru is relentless, and now that he knows of you he will be prepared next time. The readied Naruto sighed, slightly annoyed. I do not like this, I would have preferred another year, but I have no choice. 2 tails wasn't enough power to kill him, only hurt him. To kill him and ensure he can never return I will need 5 tails. I will not allow Naruto to be used by that bastard, or get any of my power. Kyuubi, in control of Naruto's body, god of the bed, walked up to Anko and put his left hand gently on her cheek. Kakashi's visible eyebrow went up slightly at the more than just friends gesture. Anka-kan, I know I also speak for Naruto on this. We will not let him hurt you ever again, we will kill him for you. Kyuubi said in a very caring, but still demonic voice, slipped his left hand behind her head in her wild purple hair, his right went up under her shirt and gently squeezed her left breast as he pulled her face down into a passionate kiss. You are as special to us as Hinata-kan, and once I have mated with her, we will give you the happiness you've been denied. Kyuubi said, released the stunned Anko, laid on his bed and pulled back all his chakra. Anko. Have you an NAR? Kakashi said then froze. Anko had a kunai at his throat and a big snarl on her face. You say one more word Cyclops, or tell anyone, especially Naruto, what just happened with me and Kyuubi, and I swear I'll kill you and feed your remains to my snakes. Anko said in her coldest voice. Not that it's any of your fucking business. But what just happened is as far as Kyuubi has gone. Naruto has only kissed me a couple times as a friend. I happen to like the brat because he understands the shit I've been through. I respect you as a ninja and my superior, but as a man you're losing ground fast. Kakashi nodded carefully. He'd never seen Anko like this before, but knew her well enough to know when she wasn't bluffing. I'm sorry Anko, I was out of line. I don't know him as well as you. Anko, please calm down. I'm well aware of your friendship with Naruto and what you've been doing. I'm pleased that you're just friends, but he'll also be told he's betrothed to Hinata Hyuga, as she will be told. As you know Orochimaru better than anyone else and can sense him, I'm reassigning you from the ANBU to be Naruto's personal bodyguard until he can draw on at least 5 tails. This will keep you near him as well as Hinata and continue his training when he's not with anyone else. And please, put away your kunai Anko. Sarutobi said calmly. Anko put away her kunai and smiled at Sarutobi. I accept. And thank you. Anko said then bowed. Anko, be in my office tomorrow morning at 8 with Naruto, I'll tell him everything then. Anko, you may stay here to watch him tonight. Kakashi, you will not speak of this to anyone. Dismissed. Sarutobi said and gave them a slight nod. Kakashi nodded to Sarutobi. If you'll mind having me around, I'll get to know him as a person. Kakashi said and waited a moment. When Anko nodded, he vanished in a swirl of wind and leaves. Anko lunged forward and gave her surrogate father a quick hug and kiss on his cheek. Thanks, old man. Sarutobi smiled. Anko was the only other person he let call him old man, but unlike Naruto, she didn't do it in front of anyone. Give him a chance, Anko, you know what he's lost. Hi, as long as Naruto doesn't mind having him around. Anko said and sighed. Sarutobi smiled and vanished. Anko pulled up a chair and sat next to bed to watch over Naruto. 8:14 a.m., the next morning, Hokage Tower. Sarutobi looked at the only slightly teary-eyed Naruto. He'd taken it better than he expected, though there had been a few tense moments. Are you alright, Naruto? Sarutobi said in a warm fatherly voice. Naruto wiped his tears on his sleeve and composed himself. Hi, I'll be fine, old man. At least now I know why everyone hated me and why I have so much chakra. And you've known all along, Anko-kan? Anko sniffled nervously. Hi, I couldn't tell you though. I'm sorry I had to lie to you like that, Naruto-kun. I can still call you Kun, can't I? If you'd rather have someone else guard you. Naruto smiled warmly up at her. Of course you can, Anko-kan, and I'd love to have you around. At least I can introduce you to Hina-kun now. Naruto said, then his eyes got big. I'm really gonna marry Hina-kun someday. Naruto said to Sarutobi. Hi, her parents are telling her as we've talked. There's one more thing. Though you'll legally be an adult when you earn your Hiteiite. You can't be married until you're both 15, which means you must wait at least 6 years. Promise me you'll wait until then before you do anything, with Hinata or anyone else. Sarutobi said in a stern, fatherly voice. Do anything. Oh, that stuff. Hi, I promise. Naruto said firmly. Sarutobi smiled. Good, I know you never break a promise, Naruto. Before you go, I'm going to arrange for you to have a special sensei to train you how to use Kyuubi's chakra. Remember, only the parents, your teachers, and the Jounin no Kyuubi is sealed inside you, Naruto. For safety I prefer you not tell anyone, but if you must or feel they can handle it, you may tell your friends. Just be sure they can handle it, everyone may not understand. Just remember, you are the jailer, not the prisoner, be sure they understand that. Dismissed, Naruto nodded, turned and left the office, Anko right behind him. Sarutobi took out his pipe, lit it, took a puff and chuckled. You can come in now, Jiraiya. I never could hide from your Sarutobi sensei. Jiraiya said as he came in through the window. So that's his kid, huh? Looks just like him. Why didn't you tell him who his dad was? Jiraiya said. Sarutobi sighed. I will, when he turns 16 he'll be told and inherit the Namikaze estates, until then you won't tell him. Hi. I assume you want me to keep tabs on Orochimaru? Jiraiya said seriously. Hi, and give Naruto a couple hours to talk with Hinata before you meet him. Sarutobi said and puffed his pipe. Before you go. Do you have a copy of the newest issue? Jiraiya let OU a short perverted giggle, pulled the small book from his vest pocket and handed it to him. Hi, your early signed copy, it won't be out for another week. Anything for my old sensei. Jiraiya said then vanished. Naruto age 12, 7:42 p.m., Academy, Naruto Uzumaki. Irika said from the doorway and smirked. He was one of the few people at the academy that knew how strong Naruto really was. He knew how much his favorite student held back to just edge out Sasuke Uchiha as top student, not just among the boys, but everyone. As Naruto headed for him to take his final exam, he knew it was only a formality but he had to do it. Though she wasn't always around where everyone could see her, he was the only other person in the room. The new Anko was outside in a tree watching through the window. He subtly glanced out the window and nodded to her. "I'm ready, Iruka-sensei, let's get in there and get my hiteite." Naruto exclaimed with his usual excitement, then waved to the class and followed Iruka into the room. Ino watched Naruto enter the exam room and the door close behind him, adjusted her sleeveless purple shirt over her full breasts. Like her mother, she developed early and loved to show off her body, had one of her usual ideas and stood. "Who wants to bet me Naruto-kun won't pass? If he fails, I'll show you my breasts," Ino said brazenly and smiled. She waited as she looked around the room. She looked at the always horny Kiba and smiled a little bigger when he shook his head no, even he wouldn't take the bet. Ino pouted sadly and sat down. She didn't show it, but inside she was laughing her head off. She loved to tease the boys like that. Sakura hunched forward slightly in her seat to hide her small chest. She was one of the smartest students at the academy, but she'd happily be the dumbest if she could have big breasts instead of a big forehead. "I may not be one of bustiest girls like you Inapig, but thanks to Naruto-kun I'm the strongest," Sakura thought and straightened up. A minute later the door opened and Naruto walked out with a huge smile on his face and a shiny new leaf hiteite on his forehead. "Congratulations Naruto-kun." Hinata, 10-10, Sakura and Ino said in unison, looked at each other a moment, then broke out in giggles. "Thanks girls, it was easy," Naruto exclaimed and gave everyone his patented foxy smile. Iruka chuckled at their antics. "Ino Yamanaka." Ino stood with a big smile. She was the last person to go, but she knew she'd pass. Everyone else had their hiteite already, no way was she going to fail. Naruto went back to his seat, but before he sat he pushed himself up on the table behind him with his hands and leaned over it to get a kiss from his girlfriend and fiancée Hinata. "Thanks Hinata-kun," Naruto said and dropped to the floor. "I knew you'd do it Naruto-kun," Hinata said happily as she listened to every girl in class whimper quietly, which made her smile happily because she was his girlfriend, and as far as most knew, the only girl he ever kissed because he wanted to. Most of the girls had only kissed Naruto that first day because of the bet. Everyone chatted quietly for about 2 minutes when the door opened and Ino came out with her new hiteite tied around her forehead. "Never doubt the diva," Ino exclaimed proudly and raised her arms with a flourish. "Sit down Miss Diva, or you and your girls will be taking my class again next year while your friends are on missions," Iruka said seriously, then looked at Naruto and smirked subtly. He knew as well as everyone that Ino often referred to her breasts as her girls. Ino crossed her arms protectively over her chest, blushed bright red, ran to her seat and slumped under the table enough to hide her chest. Everyone was red-faced from holding in their laughter at seeing Ino shut down so completely. Now that everyone has passed and become genin, congratulations. As you all know we're assigning new teams this year, so be quiet while I tell you who your teammates and sensei will be," Iruka said with a small smile. Naruto listened as Iruka read off names for Team 1, 2, 3, he wondered who he'd be paired with, and his friends. Though he knew everyone in class, none of his close friends had been called, until Iruka got to Team 6. Team 6 will be Suku Nagato, Chichi Kazumu, and Sasuke Uchiha. "Your sensei is Kakashi Hitaki," Iruka said. Naruto watched the first two stand and move near Sasuke. Suku, or Bull as his friends called him, was the biggest kid at the academy. His ninjutsu and genjutsu were just good enough for him to pass, as were his grades, but with taijutsu he was about as easy to stop as an avalanche. Chi-Chi was his opposite, she was strong where he was weak, and she was shy like Hinata used to be. He'd met her through Hinata 2 years ago and was glad he had. She wanted to be a top med nin like her mother. They'll be a good team, he's the muscle, she's smart and can heal. Sasuke is good at ninjutsu, weapons, is the best fighter next to me and he'll probably activate his Sharingan soon. Naruto thought then glanced subtly at another friend. At least Sasuke is at school. I wonder why Bushy Brow won't show anyone how good he really is, or that he wears those weights. Well, he has his reasons for keeping it secret, and I did promise him I wouldn't tell anyone. Naruto thought, then turned and listened intently to Iruka when he started to read off the names of Team 7, especially since the first name really got his attention. Hinata, Tenten, and Naruto Uzumaki. Iruka said with a very restrained smile. The whole class went silent as they heard the third name. Even all the jealous girls were quiet. They wanted to know who was the sensei of what everyone knew would be the most powerful of all the teams. When she heard his name, Hinata's eyes immediately glazed over and her mind jumped back to when she was told she was betrothed to Naruto. Flashback: Hinata entered her father's study nervously. Her mother was also there and she couldn't read either of their faces. They only looked like that when they had something important, and sometimes bad, to say to her. She was used to it from her father, even inside the compound, but to see her mother like that was even scarier to her. Her parents' point of view: before we tell you why you're here, I think privacy is called for. Hina said emotionlessly, then flashed through several hand signs. Seal. Now that no one will hear the screams, we may begin. Hina said coolly and subtly glanced at Hinata, who was almost terrified. I'm sorry to put you through this, Hinata-kun, but Naruto-kun has rubbed off on me and I couldn't resist. Hina thought. Hayashi almost lost his composure at what his wife just said, but knew this would more than make up for it. As head of the main family of the Hyuga clan, it is my duty to inform you, Hinata Hyuga, that you are betrothed to Naruto Uzumaki and will marry him when you turn 15. Hinata, who'd had her head down, answered out of reflex before what she'd heard fully registered in her mind. I'm sorry, father, I'll do better next. Hinata's head suddenly whipped up as her body locked up tight, her mouth hung wide open and her white eyes were at least as big as saucers. I'm what? Hinata said with a severe stutter. Hana's smile was even bigger than Hayashi's earlier smile. You're betrothed to Naruto-kun, Hinata-kun. When you turn 15 you're going to marry him. Hana watched her daughter's face for a full minute before it started. She saw a smile of happiness slowly appear on Hinata's face, the likes of which even Kami had never seen. She nudged Hayashi and gave him a sub nod before she focused chakra into her ears to protect them from what she knew was coming. A moment later it happened. She watched Hinata unleash a scream of joy that would have made even Kyuubi cringe years ago when it attacked the village. She watched Hinata leap around the room, throwing up her arms and almost literally screaming her head off. She was so happy. At that moment she doubted even the entire clan could restrain Hinata. She knew putting a sound seal on the room first was a good idea. End flashback. Your sensei is Anko Mitarashi. Iruka said, just barely holding back his emotions from showing on his face. The whole room gasped, especially Naruto. All right. Naruto yelled excitedly as he jumped up on his seat, fists raised, a huge smile on his face. Iruka broke out laughing hard for a moment before he composed himself. Please sit down, Naruto. Naruto froze a moment, looked around and gave everyone an oops grin, then sat down. Team 8 is Sakura Haruno, Ino Yamanaka and Shikamaru Nara. Your sensei is Kurenai Yuhi. Iruka said. Naruto glanced at his friends. A spy team, that'll be useful. Sakura is happy she gets to learn genjutsu from the best. Ino is surprised but doesn't look upset. I guess she figured she'd get put into a new Ino Shikacho. And Shikamaru, he's gonna be surrounded by women like his mom all day. He'll never get any rest now. Kurenai will push him to be his best. It'll be good for him. Naruto thought and almost laughed at his lazy friend's plight. Team 9 is Niji Hyuga, Rock Lee and Chuji Akimichi, your sensei. I'm sorry to tell you. Iruka said with amused pity. Is Mike Guy? Whoa sh. Rock Lee yelled excitedly and pumped his fist in the air. Everyone else let out an exasperated sigh, looked down and shook their head. They all liked and respected Guy. He was a great person, but 5 minutes around him and his fires of youth speeches made you want to jam a kunai in your neck and end the torture. Everyone knew if he was around your only hope was Kakashi, Guy's hip eternal rival, or Naruto, with one exception. Rock Lee, who actually liked Guy and thought he was cool. No one held that against Lee though. A taijutsu team, cool. With Niji's Byakugan and Juken, Lee's speed and special skills, and Chuji's expansion jutsu, they'll be awesome. He'll never be able to use a jutsu, but I'm glad they put Lee on a team this year. Niji too, I guess their lucky Guy wouldn't let them take the Chunin exams last year, and that the graduating class was an odd number because of Tenshin. Naruto thought. As we had an odd number of students, 2 of you will have to wait for next year, I'm sorry. Team 10 is Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka and Irika said. There were only 3 kids left and 1 open team spot. The new Kunoichi weren't the bottom students, but they were near it. Kiba looked at the 3 girls as Irika started to talk, one of which was about to be his teammate, and frowned. Just fucking great, I'm gonna get a bitch with a red afro, a pint-sized bully, or... Kiba thought, then smiled when her name was called. Fuki. I'm sorry Harumi, Ami. Irika said. Fuki squeaked in surprise, looked at her 2 long-time friends with shock. She never expected to get picked over them. She could walk across an empty room and manage to bump into or trip over something. She saw Kiba shrug, give her a half-smile and wave her over. She almost smiled when she heard him tell Shino he thought she was at least cute. She pulled up her big scarf to hide her blush, got up, crossed the room to sit by Kiba, and bumped into 4 desks on the way. She was so nervous. Who's our sensei? Kiba barked out as he watched the oversized scarf and jacket fumble her way across the room. Probably Asuma, he's the only jounin left, except for. Naruto thought then had a feeling Irika wasn't about to say Asuma. Itachi Uchiha. Irika said calmly, but inside he was nervous. He was one of the few that knew what really happened that night, and although he'd been a puppet of Orochimaru, he'd personally wiped out about 3/4 of his clan, including his father. He knew Itachi had been cleared by Inoichi, Kurenai and Ibiki as loyal and mentally stable, though he'd objected to the idea. He figured that if Sarutobi trusted him, that was good enough for him. What? Sasuke said as he stood suddenly and slapped the table with both hands. Please sit Sasuke, it's Hokagesuma's idea, you can talk to Itachi tonight at home, your mother has already been told and approves. Before you ask, no, you can't be transferred to his team. You and Itachi are the only 2 active male Uchiha and we can't risk putting you both on one team. Irika said seriously. Sasuke thought about that for a moment, then nodded and sat down. He knew Irika was right, this was best for the clan. The only other remaining male Yukika were old or little kids not even in the academy yet. Your sensei will arrive soon to pick you up, please wait in this room. Irika said, organized the papers on his desk, picked them up and left. Sasuke, Bull, Chi-Chi, you better get comfortable. Kakashi won't be here for about 2 hours. Naruto said with a big smirk. He'd gotten to know him the last couple years and had even learned a bunch of cool jutsu from him. Privately, only a few of his friends knew how strong he really was, or about his special friend he always had with him. Sasuke wasn't one of them though. He wanted to tell him, but knew his friend wasn't quite ready for the truth yet. Almost, but not quite. 8:12 a.m. Naruto was talking with Hinata and Tenten when he suddenly smirked and turned to the door. Anko barged in brashly with a big sadistic smile on her face. I'm Anko Mitarash, which of you maggots are mine? Let her have her moment, play along and act intimidated. Naruto whispered to Hinata and Tenten. They knew Anko almost as well as he did and that underneath what most saw they knew Anko was as much a goofy kid as he was, even more so as she never had a real childhood. Naruto raised his hand. I am Anko Sensei. Hinata and Tenten nodded subtly and did the same, but looked slightly intimidated. Anko smiled coldly. Oh good, I get Mr. Lucky and his fangirls, you're just another brat to me, so you and the bimbos get your shit and follow me. Anko commanded, then turned and walked toward the door. Naruto waited until Anko was near the door. My sensei is that crazy bitch. Naruto said just loud enough that everyone heard him. At the door Anko drew a kunai as she spun and threw it at Naruto, it stuck in the chair an inch from his crotch. What was that, you little shit? Naruto acted surprised and jumped up with his best scared face. Sorry Anko-sensei. Anko smiled cruelly and gave Naruto a very subtle nod the others would miss as she listened to everyone laugh nervously, and the comments about how they were glad she wasn't their sensei. Thanks Naruto-kun, I owe you one for that. Maybe the four of us will play poker tonight and I'll up the stakes from food to something more fun. Anko thought as she turned and left the classroom. 8:26 a.m., Training Ground 13, Naruto-kun, Hinata, 10:10, just between us this final test is a waste of time, you three are already a team, but I have to do it as your sensei. Naruto, stay at their level, you know out on missions you can't show your true strength except in a real emergency, so think of this as just another practice. Anko said, pushed up the left sleeve of her trench coat, bit her right thumb and smeared the blood over her snake tattoo. Summoning Jutsu. Anko said. There was a huge puff of smoke 20 feet away and when it cleared a moment later it revealed a huge coiled green snake that reared up to almost 20 feet and nodded to Anko. Naruto, Hinata and Tenten were impressed, that was the biggest snake they'd ever seen her summon. This is Lanieren, I rarely get to summon him but he has a special ability I can use here. Anko said. And turned to Lanieren. Remember what I told you to do. Anko said, then took 3 blank tags from her pocket, gave one to each of them and nodded to her summon. Lanieren started turning and twisting his head and neck a moment then split down to where it started to coil into 2 complete heads. A moment later the main head did it again. That was awesome, he has 3 heads now. Naruto exclaimed. Your mission is simple, each of you has to put your tag on top of a head, but you can only place your tag, and you each have to tag a different head. One more thing, you only have until 11 o'clock when I'm going to lunch. If you haven't all tagged him, or one of you gets knocked out, you all fail. Anko said, took a pocket watch from her trench coat and waited a moment. Begin. The moment Anko said begin Lanieren uncoiled and raced toward the far end of the training ground at incredible speed for an almost 60-foot snake. He's fast, this'll be harder than I thought. Tenten said impressed. Yeah, it'll be fun. Hinata and I will distract him while you circle around from behind Tenten and place your tag first, you should be fast enough to dodge his attacks long enough to get close, and don't get hit. Naruto said. I don't have to get close, I think I can stick one on with one of my new darts. It'll bounce off and the tag will come off when it sticks to its head. It's a tough shot but I can do it. Tenten said. Okay, stay close, Hinata and I will get it to follow us to that big tree there. Naruto said and pointed. You hide there and wait for your opening. Ready? Hinata nodded. Hi. Tenten nodded. Hi, and be careful you two. They nodded and raced down the training ground, Tenten along the side, Naruto and Hinata down the middle toward their target. 10:38 a.m. Hinata had just vaulted over Lanieren's head, and while upside down used her hand speed to plant her tag, landed and rolled away. As Hinata rolled to safety a dozen shuriken bounced off Lanieren's left side head Hinata had just tagged. Over here scale face, even with 3 heads you can't hit me. Naruto taunted very childishly and threw 6 shuriken at the center head he had to tag. Naruto suddenly yawned and stretched. I thought you were supposed to be tough. I might as well get something to eat for all the challenge you are. Naruto said obviously bored and turned his back to the giant snake. Naruto stood there a moment, then reached behind him and scratched his butt with his right hand, through his pants of course. Just as he finished he leapt straight up as a huge snake head passed under him. He landed on it, saw there was no tag and slapped his down. Gotcha, we win. Naruto exclaimed excitedly and punched the air. The two sides' head came in and both looked down at the top of the center head, then hung in defeat. Congratulations, great teamwork, which was the real reason for this anyway, you could have failed to tag all three heads. What mattered was whether or not you worked as a team. I knew you'd do it. Thanks Laniran, you can leave if you want to. Anko said. Laniran bowed, all three heads then vanished in a puff of smoke. Anko waited a minute for Hinata and Tenten to join Naruto. Great job, we're now officially Team 7. Lunch is on me, so where do you want to eat, as if I didn't already know. Anko sighed and gave Naruto a familiar smirk. Naruto gave Anko a big foxy smile. Ichiraku ramen. Hinata and Tenten giggled, then whispered to each other a moment. Naruto-kun, I'm cooking us dinner tonight at your house. You can't just have ramen, so I'm going to make rice with chicken and vegetables and you're going to eat it. Hinata said. If you're cooking Hinata-kun, I'll eat it. Are Tenten and Anko-kan, Anko-sensei coming too? Naruto said. If you guys don't mind, I'd love to. Can I bring dango for dessert? Anko said nervously. Of course you can, Anko-sensei, right Hinata-kun, Tenten. Naruto exclaimed. Hinata and Tenten nodded. Now that I'm your sensei, I didn't want to impose. I also have a little entertainment planned for afterwards, if that's okay. Anko said, then waited a moment. She smiled when they all nodded. Good, let's go eat. Now that they're genin, it's time Hinata and Tenten learn to play strip poker. Anko thought. 6:28 p.m., Naruto's place. I don't mind learning to play poker, Naruto-kun. But strip poker? Hinata said nervously and pressed her index fingers together, something she hadn't done in several years. Me too, Naruto-kun. You know we'd do anything for you. But if my dad found out Tenten said nervously and put her small hands over her breasts, which just fit in them. He'd ground me until I was 18, and mom would totally freak out. Naruto just smiled, not even a hint of worry on his face. He stepped up and put a hand on their shoulders. Don't worry Hinata-kun, Tenten, we could do this with them sitting here and neither of you would get in trouble. Hinata and Tenten glanced at each other, actually surprised, despite how well they knew him. Even for Naruto that was a lot. Naruto saw the glances and had a feeling he knew a question was coming. Do you trust me? Naruto said calmly and looked past them to Anko, who had a big smile on her face and nodded. Hi. Both girls said together without hesitation. Then relax and trust me, everything has been taken care of. Naruto said warmly. Both girls nodded and relaxed. Good. I got the table set up in the dining room, and the food, let's go play. Anko said with a big smile. Everyone went to the table and sat down. I already know how to play poker, and you know how lucky I am. I'll sit out the first game so you and Tenten can get the hang of it, okay Hinata-kun? Naruto said. Hinata nodded. Can we just learn regular poker first, Anko-kan? Hi, we'll play a warm-up game of poker so you two can learn it, Naruto-kun, get the poker chips. Anko said. Naruto got the poker chips and passed them out, 20 red, 20 blue, 20 white. The red ones are worth 10, the blue 5, and the white 1. Since this is your first time, the ante will be 1. That's money you have to put in the pot before each hand starts. Naruto said and explained how to play, then the hands, what they were called, the cards in them and what beat what. That's a straight flush, the best hand you can have is called a royal flush. That's the 5 highest cards in order, ace, king, queen, jack and 10, all of the same suit, got it? Naruto said and waited a moment until both girls nodded. Good, compared to learning jutsu poker is really pretty easy, isn't it? Hinata and Tenten nodded. Oh, Hinata-kun, no Byakugan, that's cheating. I know you wouldn't do that, but that and using a jutsu is against the rules. Ankakan has played a few times in casinos and they have special security that can detect chakra if you use it, even a tiny amount. Think of this like training, it helps with strategy and controlling your emotions. Naruto said. Hinata and Tenten nodded. I couldn't have said it better myself, I'll start. Anko said with a smile, shuffled the cards and dealt 5 to each, except Naruto, then picked up her hand and put in a white chip, then watched Hinata and Tenten do the same. Anko glanced to her right where Naruto sat, then across from her was Hinata, and Tenten to her left. Let's see, pair of queens, a 2, 5 and 7. Not much but I can use it. Anko thought, then discarded 3 and drew new cards. Shit. Ah, another queen. I'll bet 5. Anko said calmly and tossed in a blue chip. Hinata looked at her cards, briefly glanced at Anko when she bet to try and read her, but couldn't. Anko is good at this. All I have are these small numbers, I need a new. Wait, what's that called when you have 5 in sequence but different suits? A straight flush. It's only 2 through 6, but if I bluff well I should win this hand. Hinata thought. I bet 5. Hinata said calmly and put in a blue chip. 2 7s, 2 8s and a 3, if I remember right this is 2 pairs, not much but it'll do. Oh, Anko did this. Tenten thought then discarded her 3 and drew a third 7. Tenten resisted the urge to smile happily as she normally would, like if she was on a mission she had to hide her emotions. I'll bet 5. Tenten said and put in a blue chip. Good poker faces for new genin, but they were the top kunoichi at the academy. Good start, but it's time to separate the girls from the women. Anko thought, let a small frown appear on her face for a few moments, waited just long enough for them to see it and tossed in a blue and red chip. I raised 10. Anko said with a little false bravado, she wanted them to think she was bluffing and bet big. Hinata smiled big and matched Anko's bet. Tenten held in her emotions and put in 2 red chips and a blue chip. I raised 10. Anko called, watched Hinata and Tenten stay in, then smiled and showed her cards. 3 queens bitches, beat 'em if you can. Anko said proudly. Tenten smiled. Good hand Anko. But your 3 bitches just got evicted from my full house. Tenten said happily and showed her cards. Anko's face fell. You little bitch. Anko said annoyed and frowned. Naruto laughed. Hinata smiled broadly and showed her hand. Sorry Tenten-chan, but you're my bitch, straight flush. Tenten paled and face planted on the table. Naruto fell off his chair and rolled on the floor holding his stomach, he was laughing so hard. Anko just stared at Hinata and clenched her jaw. Fucking beginner's luck. Anko mumbled then sighed in amused defeat. You got lucky Hinata, but we just started. 7:56 p.m. Naruto watched his girlfriend and new sensei closely. Tenten had been taken out about an hour ago. Hinata and Anko had bet everything they had left on one final hand. He was happy, but not totally surprised Hinata had picked it up so fast, or how lucky she was. She wasn't as lucky as he was, but nobody was. She had held her own against Anko though. You're a great girl Hinata, and a good friend. But in battle or cards I go right for the tits, so kiss yours goodbye. Full house, jacks over 10s. Anko said, smiled proudly and showed her hand. Hinata looked at Anko and her face changed from emotionless to a big smile. That'd be hard to do with your womanhood kicked up into your neck Ankakan. Straight flush. Hinata said calmly as she showed her hand. Anko's face and posture dropped, then a smile crept onto her face as she started to laugh, softly at first. Congratulations Hinata equals Chan. You ready to try strip poker now? Naruto said with a big smile. I'm still really nervous about this, and even with you, Tenten-chan and Ankakan I'm pretty shy, but for you Naruto-kun I'll do it. Hinata said, slightly nervous and with a small blush. I'm ready, it's no different than going to the hot spring. Except you'll be here Naruto-kun. Tenten said, then paused a moment and turned to Hinata. Speaking of the hot springs, why haven't you ever joined me Hinata-kun? Too embarrassed, I'm used to being alone or with Hanabi or Kazan. Hinata said shyly. Well, you're from a big clan, not like me and Naruto-kun, so you were raised differently than we were. Tenten said and smiled. She is a princess. Naruto said and smiled when Hinata blushed. Then she'll be royally embarrassed when I leave her naked. Anko said and laughed. Since this is their first time Anka-kan, I want to change the rules a little. Before I do, I want to remind you that shoes count as one thing, so do socks, and everything else you wear too can only bet what you have on, but you don't take it off unless you lose that hand, only the winner of the hand keeps their clothes on. When you lose all your clothes you have to stand over there so everyone can see you, and you can't cover up. That okay with everyone? Naruto said. Anko nodded. That's fine with me. Hi. Tenten said casually. Hinata nodded. As she cleared the table, Anko looked at Naruto. Naruto, we know if you play to win we'll all be naked in 5 or 6 quick hands, so I'm asking you as your friend and sensei. Give us a chance. Anko said calmly, almost submissively. Naruto sighed and nodded. Hi, that's only fair since Hinata-kun and Tenten are playing. Naruto said. Thank you Naruto-kun. Anko said. If you don't mind, I'll deal. Naruto said. Anko thought a moment and handed him the cards. 3 hands later Naruto looked around happily. Everyone was now barefoot. Anko had lost her trench coat and mesh shirt, leaving her topless. Tenten was only in her panties and sports bra, which Tenten playfully said she only wore to keep my little boobs from bouncing too much, though she didn't really need it. As he thought, Hinata was doing well. She still had on her black knee shorts, dark blue shirt he could only seen the collar of, and her gray jacket he'd never seen her without. He'd lost one on purpose so he could take his shirt off. He liked how Tenten and Hinata blushed lightly when they looked at his lean muscled body. He knew Anko looked at him too, but as Anko liked to say, he had her by the tits, and though he could now that he'd learned about girls and sex, from the academy and several adults that had given him the talk, he'd promised not to do anything with them until he'd married Hinata. That didn't mean he couldn't look though. You bet Anko. I don't have a choice, I want to win back my shirt and trench coat, so I'm all in. Anko said seriously. Naruto just smirked. Me too. Tenten was surprised, then smiled. I'll just end up naked, but I've wanted to show Naruto-kun my boobs since I got 'em, I'm all in too. Hinata was blushing bright red. I. Come on Hinata-kun, you're a kunoichi now, if you're going to be on my team you won't have any weaknesses. And being shy is a weakness. So suck it up, grow some tits and go all in. Anko said seriously. Anko saw a very subtle flinch when she told Hinata to grow some tits. No, that has to be it though, that's why she never takes that fucking jacket off. She's probably fucking stacked and is ashamed of her body or thinks something is wrong with her. Anko thought, then glanced subtly at Naruto, and when she locked eyes with him gave him a subtle nod towards Hinata's chest, then saw the reaction in his eyes she just had. Hinata felt a foot on her leg and looked at Anko. The look she saw on Anko's face has only one meaning, then she saw the same look on Naruto's face, but Tenten didn't seem to. Oh Kami. They know. I can do this, Mom said I'd have to show them eventually. They're my best friends. Naruto is going to marry me in 3 years and Anko in my sensei now. If Naruto-kun can trust us with his secret, I can too. Hinata thought, then pushed down her blush. I'm all in too. Okay, lay him down. Full house. Queen high. Anko said with a smile. 2 pair, 10s and jacks. Tenten said sadly. Hinata smiled and looked at Naruto. Straight flush. See, can you beat that Naruto-kun? Hinata said nervously, with a stutter she hadn't done in years. Naruto's face was emotionless as he laid his cards on the table. Royal flush. Sorry Hinata-kun. Hinata whimpered a moment then sighed. That's okay Naruto-kun, I knew this would happen eventually. I'll go last if that's okay. Anko nodded, stood and stepped out into the room. Hinata, 10-10, until we can be more than just friends, this stays between us. Since we're sharing secrets anyway. I'll tell you both in case you didn't figure it out already, Naruto-kun owns my ass, heart and soul. We haven't done anything yet because he's waiting until he marries you Hinata-kun, but if he wanted to walk me naked through the streets on a leash with property of Naruto Uzumaki tattooed across my tits I'd do it with a smile. I'm not the only one, but it's not my place to reveal anyone else. Do either of you have a problem with this? Anko said seriously. No Anko-sensei. 10-10 said. No Anko-kan. Hinata said. Good. You learned this at the academy, but pictures aren't the same as experience. Anko said, then pulled down and stepped out of her knee shorts and panties. This is what a real woman's body looks like, any questions? Anko said proudly. Naruto just smiled, he'd seen her already. Hinata stood. I do. When did you develop and how big are you? I was 10 and had these babies before I was 11. I'm a big D cup, almost an E, and one of the biggest kunoichi in Konoha. As you all know, the biggest kunoichi tits in Konoha belong your mother Hina. Both of mine together are almost as big as one of hers, lucky bitch. No offense Hinata. Anko said. Hinata smiled, blushed and nodded. I know, and it's okay Anko-kan, I know you're friends. My turn I guess. Besides, I may be a genin now, but mom would blister my butt if she found out I went back on a deal, even one she didn't like. You know how she is Naruto-kun, dad wouldn't let me help him at the shop for a month at least, and he'd blister my butt too. I wouldn't sit for a week. 10-10 said, got up, walked to Anko and removed her sports bra and panties with only a slight blush. So what do you think Naruto-kun? I don't have what Anko-sensei does up top, or even most of the girls that graduated with us, and I don't have anything down there yet, but I'm really cute. You're adorable Tenten-chan, and I'll bet you'll look just like your mom in a couple years. Naruto said. 10-10 smiled. Thank you Naruto-kun. Mom isn't quite as big as Anko-sensei, and told me that small boobs run in the family, but I hope I'll have enough to at least properly fill out a sports bra in a couple years. I'll never be as big as her though. Her, who are talking about 10-10? Anko asked. Naruto and Hinata looked at 10-10 curiously. I guess I can tell you guys, but you have to promise me you won't tell anyone and you won't put this in my record Anko-sensei. 10-10 said seriously, but nervously. Naruto, Hinata, and Anko all nodded. The her I referred to is my idol. The Sannin Tsunade, Naruto, you know I like you and want to be more than friends. Well you're the only boy I feel that way about. Not because of my age or anything. See, what I haven't told anyone is. 10-10 got really nervous and swallowed hard. Anko's eyes suddenly opened wider for a moment. How long have you known you were gay 10-10? Anko interrupted. Naruto and Hinata were shocked. But if you're gay 10-10, how can? Naruto said confused. 10-10 shrugged. I've known since I was 9 Anko-sensei. I don't know Naruto-kun, you make me feel safe, I can trust you with my life and know you'll never hurt me. Naruto got up, walked to 10-10 and looked in her eyes. You're one of my best friends in the whole world Tenten-chan, we have been since the second day of academy when you showed up. I'll always be your friend and protect you, no matter what. Naruto said with as much love as he could, then gave her a hug and kissed her left cheek. Besides, now I have someone I can talk about girls with. Naruto said as he laughed through a big smile. Tenten returned his hug and smiled happily. When we're older I'll help you get 'em too, I can learn all their secrets in places you can't go. Tenten said with a devious smile. Anko burst out laughing. Really hard. I love it. Tenten, Naruto and Anko laughed a minute longer, then Tenten noticed Hinata wasn't. Hinata-kun. Are you mad at me, or disgusted that I like girls that way? Tenten said nervously. Do you think about me that way? Hinata asked, then sighed when Tenten nodded. Naruto-kun, when we're finally married. Will you want Anko-sensei, Tenten-chan? Or others too? Join us? Naruto was quiet a moment, then sighed and nodded. Hi, Hinata-kun. But not behind your back, and I won't force you to do anything, but no matter what you will always be my Hinata-hime and first in my heart. Hinata smiled, she knew he meant it. I guess I could learn to share you, as long as I'm always your true love. I'll be right back. Hinata said, then turned and went into the bathroom. Everyone waited nervously for almost 5 minutes before the bathroom door opened. Hinata walked out only in her oversized gray jacket, it hung just low enough to cover her entire body, only her head, hands, and legs showed. This is no different than being at a public hot spring, though I haven't been to one. I can do this. We're just looking right, so it's okay. Hinata said nervously, as if trying to convince herself. Hinata walked across the room, stopped 8 feet in front of them and turned her back to them. Naruto watched and listened a moment, then heard the zipper on her jacket slide to the bottom and separate. He watched her fidget a moment, then turned back to them, her hands holding her jacket closed. Promise you won't laugh at me or anything, I'm kinda different. Hinata said nervously. I promise. They said together, then smirked. They'd said it at the same time. Naruto saw Hinata open her jacket and a huge dick flopped out. He immediately shut his eyes and appeared in front of Kyuubi's cage, who was rolling on the floor laughing. That wasn't funny, furball. Naruto screamed angrily. I couldn't resist the prank. The look on your face was priceless. Kyuubi said as he paused from his laughing fit, then lost it again. You'll pay for that later, furball. Naruto said, then vanished from his mindscape. I don't care what he does to me, that was so fucking worth it. Kyuubi said with a huge demonic smile. Back in the real world, 1 second after he promised, thank you Tenten-chan, Anko-sensei and especially you Naruto-kun, I just died as you laughed at me or said I was ugly. Hinata said honestly, took a deep breath, then quickly opened her jacket wide. Tenten got a nosebleed from both nostrils and fainted, her legs folded under her. Naruto got a minor nosebleed, but held his focus. Hinata. What size? Anko said, stunned. I'm a fully cup. They're fat and saggy, but what do you think? Hinata said nervously. Beautiful Hinata-kun. Naruto said, obviously impressed. Anko looked down at herself, blushed from shame and crossed her arms over her chest. Please cover up, Hinata. As a woman I'm totally ashamed to stand here in your presence. Hinata closed her jacket, zipped it up, ran over to Anko and hugged her. Please don't be Anko-sensei. Thank you. Please get dressed, Hinata-kun, I'll wake Tenten and we'll get dressed. At the table I figured out from your reaction that you were hiding big breasts. But I expected C cups, maybe D. And if you're like your mother, you probably aren't done growing yet. Then there's Tenten. We all have a lot to talk about. Anko said calmly, but inside her emotions were churning. Hinata nodded, turned and went back to the bathroom to get dressed. In Naruto's mindscape, Kyuubi was worried. Maybe I should have told him what Hinata was hiding last year when I figured it out. And Tenten, maybe that illusion was a bad idea. But it's his fault he didn't pay closer attention to them. Kyuubi thought to himself so Naruto wouldn't hear him. Lady Luck appeared in Naruto's mindscape, arms crossed over her chest, an angry frown on her face and tapping her right foot. Kyuubi took a very submissive posture on his belly, he'd forgotten he wasn't to mess with Naruto's relationship with Hinata. I'm fucked. Kyuubi said worried, then really got scared when he saw her smile sadistically, which on a celestial being was truly terrifying.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. This is Raven Sage, signing off.